The roar of the crowd was already reaching a fever pitch when the 7th round ticked into its final minute. Sweat flew with every exchange. The canvas bore the scars of 6 violent rounds. And Jose Pedraza was breathing just a little heavier than before. Then it happened. A body shot landed with a dull, sickening thud. The kind that doesn't just hurt, but steals the air from your lungs and the confidence from your mind. Pedraza folded instinctively, his elbows crashing down to protect his ribs. And in that split second of vulnerability, Gervonta "Tank" Davis saw everything he needed to see. The uppercut came next, snapping Pedraza's head upward, followed immediately by a brutal fusillade of punches that poured out of Davis. Like a storm that had been waiting all night to break loose. A vicious right hand crashed home, Pedraza crumpled, and just like that, the fight was over. The referee didn't hesitate. He took one long look, saw the damage, and waved it off. At just 22 years old, Gervonta Davis stood in the ring as the youngest champion in boxing. His name suddenly etched into the sport's future. It wasn't just the knockout that mattered. It was how it happened. Davis hadn't simply caught a veteran with a lucky shot. He dismantled him piece by piece. The body punches softened Pedraza, drained his resistance, and made every movement slower, every decision harder. By the time the right hook landed, the outcome felt inevitable. Watching the replay only made it more frightening. Davis missed with his left. The torque he generated through his hips and shoulders transferred seamlessly into the hook that followed. It wasn't just power. It was mechanics, balance, and timing working in perfect harmony. Fighters talk about punches you never want to get hit with. That right hook was exactly that kind of punch. In just 7 rounds, Davis didn't merely win a title. He announced himself. This wasn't a promising prospect anymore. This was the next big thing. A young man with frightening power and a calm, surgical approach to violence. The division took notice, and the boxing world understood that something dangerous had arrived. By 2019, Tank Davis had grown into his reputation. He walked into his second title defense not as a hungry challenger, but as the WBA super featherweight champion with the eyes of the sport locked firmly on him. His opponent, Ricardo Nunez, wasn't a household name, but he carried himself like a man who believed deeply in his own hands. A Panamanian puncher built on aggression and knockout intent. Nunez entered the ring with the kind of quiet menace that comes from knowing you only need one moment to change everything. From the opening bell, Davis looked composed. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't hunting recklessly. He wanted to feel Nunez out, to measure him, to understand how he moved and how he reacted under pressure. Nunez, for his part, kept his hands high, cutting off the ring and showing that he wasn't intimidated by the moment. For a brief stretch, it felt like a chess match, both men probing, neither overcommitting, but the cracks appeared quickly. Davis' jabs snapped out, sharp and authoritative, dictating distance and rhythm. Nunez tried to answer by going to the body, but Davis was already timing him. A left hand landed clean, not quite enough to end things, but enough to send a message. When Davis stepped inside again, the second left hand found its mark with heavier intent. And suddenly, Nunez's confidence wavered. The referee stepped in moments later, seeing a fighter trapped near the ropes and taking punishment that was only going to escalate. Nunez protested. Fighters always do. But there was no denying what had happened. It hadn't even taken 2 full rounds for Davis to end the night. This wasn't just a defense of a belt. It was a statement. Tank Davis was operating on a different level, dispatching challengers before they could even settle into the fight. As the year pushed forward, Davis's legend continued to grow. His next challenge would come at a higher weight, against a man whose name carried real history. Yuriorkis Gamboa wasn't just another opponent. He was a former unified champion, an Olympic-level talent, and a veteran who had seen everything the sport could throw at him. This wasn't about hype. This was about legacy. From the opening exchanges, Davis walked Gamboa down with quiet confidence. A straight left snapped Gamboa's head back, followed by a right hook that forced him to spin away. Davis went to the body with cruel precision, digging hooks that thudded into Gamboa's ribs and slowed his famed movement. When the straight left finally sent Gamboa to the canvas, It felt like the inevitable result of sustained pressure rather than a sudden shock. Gamboa showed heart. He always had. He got back up, fired back, and even caught Davis with a right hand that briefly reminded everyone this was still a fight. But Davis responded like a predator who had felt resistance and decided it was time to end things. Straight lefts poured in, one after another, turning the bout into target practice. Uppercuts snapped Gamboa's head back as he retreated. Hooks wrapped around his guard, and the ropes became his only refuge. Round after round, Davis broke him down. Even when Gamboa tried to buy time, the pressure never stopped. By the 10th, it was clear that experience and pride could only carry him so far. When the finish finally came, it wasn't just a knockout. It was a culmination. A younger, stronger fighter had walked down a former champion and taken everything he had left. Yet if anyone questioned whether Davis could do this against a truly durable, battle-tested opponent in his prime, those doubts would be answered against Leo Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz wasn't just tough, he was relentless. A volume puncher with an iron chin and a reputation for thriving in chaos. He came into the fight as a reigning champion and a man unafraid of pressure. From the start, the contrast was striking. Santa Cruz pumped his jab through combinations and tried to push Davis backward into deep water. Davis, calm and patient, looked for angles, slipping shots, and waiting for openings. The early rounds were competitive, with Santa Cruz doing what he always did, piling up punches and refusing to be intimidated by Davis's power. But the danger was always there, lurking just beneath the surface. Davis' counter left hand snapped out again and again, reminding Santa Cruz that every exchange carried risk. Body shots dug in, uppercuts flashed through the guard, and slowly the tide began to turn. Santa Cruz was brave, perhaps too brave, standing toe-to-toe with a puncher who only needed one opening. When it finally came, it was devastating. A left uppercut exploded upward out of nowhere, a punch Santa Cruz never saw. The impact was immediate and brutal. One moment he was pressing forward, the next he was collapsing to the canvas, unconscious before he hit the floor. The arena fell silent in shock before erupting in awe. Within 6 rounds, the question had been answered. Gervonta Davis wasn't just elite. He was something rarer, a fighter capable of ending a world-class bout in an instant. After that, Davis' confidence only grew. His move up to challenge Mario Barrios for the WBA super lightweight title was about more than another belt. It was about proving he could dominate bigger men, fighters with longer reach and greater size. Barrios came in tall, strong, and determined.
Knowing this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Early on, Davis used his jab to close the distance, cutting off the ring and forcing Barrios to react. The left hand found a home, first to the body, then upstairs. Barrios tried to fight back, pawing at the jab and working Davis's midsection. But every exchange seemed to favor the smaller man with the heavier hands. As the rounds wore on, the pressure mounted. Davis' combinations became sharper, his confidence more pronounced. Then, in the 8th, the right hook finally came into play.